Here at New Jersey LCV, the Communications Director, and I'm here with Ed Potosnik, our Executive Director.
Hi.
And today we're back to talk about the Common Agenda. Ed, let's start with you telling us what is the Common Agenda?
Well, the Common Agenda we put together with the input of our members and our colleague and partner organizations. And this year, we're fighting to secure 100% clean energy by 2035. That's our electricity that comes through the power supply in our homes. We're fighting to make sure we have and preserve open spaces and parks for families across the state, that we're safeguarding clean drinking water, particularly getting the lead and other contaminants out of our drinking water. And then additionally, we have to be really focused on protecting our democracy and making sure people have access to voting. We're a voting organization, and that's really critical. And the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in our state and pollution is transportation, and we have to reduce those emissions. So we're looking to get pollution out of the air from our transportation sector.
Great. Now today we're going to focus on issue number 2, which is open spaces and parks. Tell us why that's so important here in New Jersey.
Well, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the nation, which means we have more people per square mile than any other place. And we also have a legacy of development that we inherited from our parents and grandparents. And that is causing all kinds of issues as we've seen more intense and frequent storms. We're seeing more flooding. We're seeing a lot of traffic on our roads. I mentioned transportation. But one of the things that's also a problem is access to wonderful environments that are outdoors. So, the Garden State, making sure we have agriculture, a big priority for us, but also having parks. When the pandemic, we learned that folks needed to get outside, and people were discovering parks in their communities like never before. And what's really astonishing is that's not the case in every community. And so for us at New Jersey LCV is we need to make sure that every community across the state, no matter your zip code, has access to open spaces that are walkable right from their home to enjoy and recreate. It's also really important that we preserve open spaces to ensure that we have clean drinking water, which is another one of our priorities, right? Because the land is a filter for our water supply, better than any engineer could come up with. That helps also drive up our property values and helps us to make investments in the community. And the more spaces we have, the more benefits we have. So your house is going to be worth a lot more, and that's going to be good for your pocketbook as well. And so for us, it's a priority to make sure that we preserve what little remaining open space we have in a race against the bulldozers that are trying to develop.
Now, another important issue for us is environmental justice.
Yeah.
And we often talk about environmental racism. So talk about why parks and open space are so important for communities of color and those that have been deprived of this in the past.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that a little bit, right? Because depending on where you live, you'll have access to varying levels of open space. And we define open space as forests, farms, but we also look at it as parks. And these are areas that don't have any development. They don't have housing or industrial development on them. And we think every person should be within walking distance of a green space, an open space, a park. It should be safe and available to them so they can enjoy it with their family. And unfortunately, 76% of people of color don't have access to spaces like I described. And that's something that we can fix. We need to make sure we're investing in preserving the spaces, but that we're also taking the spaces we have and making them accessible to the communities. A park with a locked door or a gate, that's not going to count in the 24% of people that are within walking distance to an open space in their community. The other thing, too, is really important is we know getting outside, being in nature, is important for our health. People are spending a lot more time indoors. That means they're breathing air that is stale. And with it, all kinds of internal pollutants can be there. Fresh air, they say, if you're not feeling well, get outside, get some fresh air, is a really important component. There has to be places for folks to go. New Jersey has done a great job in prioritizing investments in communities of color, but we need to be doing more if the statistics are bearing out the way they are. And that's something for us at New Jersey LCV. We were listening to our members and partner organizations about opportunities, including urban agriculture, where we can actually be growing food very close to the places people are consuming it in our cities. And it's a successful model. It's an opportunity for us. And I think it's something that will have a bright future. That's why we made it a piece of this common agenda.
Now, there's some good things going on in terms of parks here in New Jersey. Let's talk a little bit about that in open space.
Well, the biggest opportunity that we have is through a constitutional dedication from the corporate business tax that generates roughly $200 million a year. It was voter approved in 2014. 65% of voters supported dedicating a small piece of this corporate tax to preserve our open spaces. So it goes to forest, farmland, open spaces, and also historic sites. New Jersey has more revolutionary historic sites than any state in the nation. More of our battles were fought here. George Washington spent more time here than any other place. And in fact, with the semi-quincentennial coming up, the 250th anniversary of America, there's an effort that we're undergoing right now in the state of New Jersey to reclaim our history and that heritage, which is just so important. The Princeton battlefield all the way through so many of the different historical landmarks and the trails that exist now. Some of them are roadways, etc., and really leaning into that. And that's a piece of our history. A part of our future is making sure that we have a beautiful place for us to exist. So in Essex and Hudson, there was a big acquisition last year called the Essex Hudson Greenway. It'll be like the High Line in New York City, only Jerseyfied. It's going to be bigger, it's going to be longer, it's going to be better. It's going to connect communities of Newark with communities of Montclair, with a biking trail, with outdoor recreational opportunities, and it's going to be walkable from all the communities that can get there. This is an old rail that was abandoned, that has been purchased, and now will be reclaimed. There's a little bit of cleanup that needs to happen, but it's really going to be something to see and something we can be proud of for future generations. And it wouldn't have been possible without the constitutional dedication of the voters in 2014. It's something really to be proud of. We are investing the most of any state in the nation besides Florida in preserving our open spaces.
Wonderful. Now, but we can't talk about the good without mentioning the CBT. You talked about that and what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately right now, the surcharge that existed at the end of 2023 expired on December 31st. So as we were wishing everyone a happy new year, we were also quite saddened to have a surcharge go away that was investing 2.5% of the corporate surcharge. I guess I should say corporations earning $1 million or more in net profit were being charged 2.5% extra in corporate business tax. And that surcharge was generating about $1 billion into the coffers of New Jersey. But because 6% of it was constitutionally dedicated for environmental programs and 4.8% of the total amount for land preservation, we're leaving about $60 million a year in environmental programs, $48 million a year in open space preservation on the table. So right now we are seeing a reduction over the next 10 years of $480 million that would have been available to do projects like I talked about, the Essex Hudson Greenway, or in a local community, a park revitalization project, or like we saw in White Township, where they were going to build a warehouse on a pristine forest, tear it down to put in a warehouse. That was preserved land with open space funding. That money's going to be away. That's not going to be available if we don't reinstitute the corporate business tax. And we're supportive of reinstituting that in its full force so we can fund these environmental programs. And then, of course, we mentioned transportation is a big emitter of pollution. We want to make sure New Jersey Transit is also seeing the kinds of investments that it needs to be reliable and affordable, that folks will get off the roads and into trains and buses to get to their destinations.
But you don't want the two opposing each other.
Well, they go hand in hand. I think the governor basically came up with this idea, wolves in sheep's clothing, to call it a transit fee and dedicate that revenue to transit. Us and the For the Many Coalition, which is a number of groups working together, we support the corporate business tax as it was on December 30th of 2023. It was working. There's no doubt that the wealthiest corporations that are making record profits need to be investing in our state. A lot of these corporations are out-of-state corporations, and we need to make sure the programs are working here in our state. We need money to do that. Land, things are expensive in New Jersey. And, the corporate business tax as a way that they can give back and ensure New Jersey stays beautiful for future generations.
So you always say we always want to do a ask. So for those that are watching and they care about open space and parks, what's our ask of them right now?
Well, we would love for you to join us in our volunteer program. One of the things that wouldn't be possible without the support of folks like you is all of the things that we do. So if you're interested in getting more involved in making sure corporations pay their fair share with the corporate business tax and the surcharge I talked about, please reach out to us on our website at www.njlcv.org. So you can get involved. You click a button, take action, and sign up for our email list, and also send a note to us and let us know you're interested in volunteering. If you're interested in helping reduce pollution from the transportation sector, safeguarding clean drinking water, expanding voter rights, and protecting our democracy, if you're interested in getting us to the important 100% clean electricity by 2035 so we can protect ourselves from the threat of climate change, create good local jobs in New Jersey, provide energy security, please reach out to us. We need your help. Your time is valuable. Your relationships in your community are valuable, and it wouldn't be possible without all of us sort of rowing in the same direction. And so that is the number one thing we're asking people for right now is help getting involved to tell your elected officials this agenda matters to you and that you're expecting before their next election that they deliver on the 5 priorities that we outlined. No one should be drinking toxic water. No one should be breathing toxic air. These are solutions that we've laid out, and we have a robust agenda, and we need your help. And please join us.
Yes. Well, Ed, thank you so much for talking with us today, and please join us next time when we will talk about public transportation. That's it for us today. Stay tuned.
Thanks so much.